What's up, everybody? Before we get into it with you guys today, we want you all on March 1st to come join C2 Wrestling here on YouTube as we watch live WWE's Elimination Chamber PLE, the last stop before WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas. Can John Cena find his way to that WrestleMania to win his 17th World Championship? Who knows? But we want to hang out with you all when we find out if he can do it. So you got to stay subscribed. You got to have the notifications on with C2 Wrestling. How else would you know when we go live? Come here on March 1st to hang out with your boys and have some fun. What is going on, everybody? C2 Wrestling with a little bit of a Monday Night Raw review coming your way. But first, be sure to go onto that C2 Wrestling channel on YouTube right here. Subscribe, turn the notifications on. We will be live for Elimination Chamber. We want you guys to come hang out with us. It's been nothing but a blast for these live shows. So be sure to turn those notifications on. But Monday Night Raw tonight, a couple things to get into. What do you want to start with?
Well, we got to talk Elimination Chamber because we'll be live for it, as you said. We know both chamber matches. We know an unsanctioned match.
Yep.
It kind of like Raw was obviously good.
Yeah.
I kind of low key kind of forgot Cena's in the match for a bit.
Well, listen, Cena had his Rumble thing. He had the presser where he'll still be in the chamber. But this is the same as the Rumble, where he booked himself in the Rumble, didn't show up for a month. And it's the same with the chamber. Put himself in the chamber, not going to show up for a month. I'm not sold on Cena winning this chamber. I know that sounds crazy. It's more than likely Cena, don't get me wrong, but I'm not 100% sold on it at this point. But we do know the final participant in the chamber matches, I should say. It's kind of crazy that it's already the chamber. Like, we're already right here to it. It's come out of nowhere. This is the last step to WrestleMania. So it's definitely enticing. Seth Rollins added to the chamber. Roxanne added to the women. How do you feel about that?
Love it. And honestly, as soon as Rollins won and they showed the graphic, the six guys, Priest, Drew, Cena, Logan, Rollins, and Punk, I looked at it, and Alec, the honorary Oos, we were texting each other. We were like, what a fucking stacked chamber. I
Yeah.
know, I know, I know fucking glue eaters want to pretend like Priest doesn't rule. And as much as I don't like Logan, he's not fucking great in the ring. And this match is insane. I think they quickly forget the days of like fucking Santino Morella being in the final two of the chamber. Like, I love
Yeah.
Santino, but like, this feels like, oh, there's one spot left for a main event of WrestleMania. We need some top guys to compete for it. These are the guys, excluding Roman.
Absolutely. During Monday Night Raw tonight, I have them right here. I'll just show you. I was snacking on some almonds, okay? But I feel like a lot of the fans that do watch are eating paint chips when they watch because some really bad opinions out there, if I'm being honest. And this Elimination Chamber, the names in it, both sides, men and women too, but the men particularly, it's the most stacked Elimination Chamber of all time. You can hate Logan Paul all you want. He's a fantastic wrestler. He's a great personality to have in there. Anybody to the star power of Logan Paul, if they were actually that good of an in-ring wrestler and on the mic, they would be in the same spot Logan Paul is in. It's crazy to think that that's actually a thing. Like, somebody that was so big outside of wrestling is actually an incredible professional wrestler. But my laundry's done if you could hear that in the background.
I can't.
Okay, well, that was pretty loud, so I'm surprised. But CM Punk in it too. The names are just crazy. Seth Rollins getting added. Tonight's main event, I know we're kind of going right into the main event here, but I think obviously this puts Seth in the match, but I think this more develops the Finn Balor story than it does really Seth's story. He might get his Mania opponent through this Elimination Chamber, sure, but I think this more sets up the future Judgment Day split of sorts.
It's interesting because they are really harping on not adding this new member. Who's this new member that they're kind of teasing towards? It feels as if this is how Balor gets taken out of the Judgment Day. Whoever it is, Dom and Liv bring in, gives Balor the boot. Maybe that's his Mania opponent. Maybe it's Balor Dom at Mania. I don't know. The spear from Braun Breaker on accident, does that get Braun Breaker in the mix? Does that get Dom in the mix with Braun Breaker? I doubt it. I think it was more just that spot. But it does feel like it's leading towards, this is the Mania story. And we will soon know the Mania match. You mentioned we're at the chamber. This is the pretty much the final step before Mania. It still feels, even though the chamber is a week from Saturday, it still feels like after the chamber, plenty of people we could be like, man, they have four different routes still. Like, I think they're going this way, but they could still go this way. They could face this person. And Balor's like prime example of that. Like, he genuinely, I don't know if there's any name currently on the roster that you could say is Balor's opponent, and I'd be like stunned. That's how wide open it feels.
Yeah, Balor is one of those guys that probably has some sort of match or involvement at Mania, but like it could be who knows anybody really. I mean, you would think maybe they're setting up Dom Balor. Honestly, I mean, I don't know if they get there this soon, but I do see, as you said, I don't think Braun gets really involved, but I think they're kind of shaping up for maybe Dom to have a match against Braun. Maybe, now it's Dom's chance to have win a match again. It's going to be against the champion. Finn Balor's going to watch at ringside. Braun gets the win, and a little bit of a dissension there between Balor and Dom again. It's definitely about time to break up the Judgment Day. I think this whole like teasing a member thing is maybe just a ploy. I really hope they don't like add a member. When Balor's out, if Dom and Liv and Raquel and Carlito, or even if Carlito's out, whatever, if they want to be their own stable or something, sure. But I think that's at a point where you got to change the name and everything and like kind of rebrand whatever stable or faction they're going to be. Dom's got to stay heel for a while. Balor's been doing great as a heel too, so it's kind of interesting to see. We're getting kind of like a heel on heel turn here. I guess the idea is Balor's gonna go face. Like Dom's had some face tendencies with the fans, but he still is just so good as a heel that it seems hard to push him to a face.
And we've talked about it before, especially in NXT. I gotta stop looking at feuds as like hook, line, and sinker. Oh, well, this guy is a heel and this guy is a face, so they're going to face. I think we're kind of past those days in WWE. I mean, the main event or the main title in NXT, Obafemi defends in a triple threat where it's three heels. Drew McIntyre, yes, he's technically a heel. I don't see him really yucking it up with every other heel. It feels like he's got issues with everybody. And then the same goes for the faces. Like Seth Rollins and CM Punk are as baby face as it gets. And Roman, yes, he's kind of a tweener, but technically, the fans cheer him. He's more on the face side. All three of them are feuding. Like, I think the whole this guy's face, this guy's heel, so they won't face or won't match up, for a better term. I think that's kind of out the window. And I think a Finn Dom match like makes sense story-wise. It's been going on for months, and it's not like okay, this guy is straight up the face and this guy is straight up the heel. I think it's just straight up, this is Finn Balor and this is Dominic Mysterio, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Over the years, let's say the roster was 100 people. It used to be kind of split. It'd be 50 heels, 50 faces. Now it's kind of like, maybe it's like 40-40 and there's 10 tweeners, and then it's kind of growing to 30-30 and there's 20 in betweeners,
What's that, like Venn diagram or whatever the hell it's called?
The oh man,
where it's like the two circles.
Yeah, I know exactly.
I'm making the two circles, and there's a little middle circle. You got faces, heels, and then there's the middle part, and that is the most flooded part it's ever been.
Yeah, every teacher I had throughout my entire life is like, how do you not remember that? But I can probably recite some of the most useless things we learned.
Yeah,
but there's definitely a lot that can go down leading up to WrestleMania for everybody, for Finn, for Dom, for all these guys in the chamber. The triple threat between Punk, Roman, and Rollins seemed kind of imminent post the Rumble, but you see some rumors and you kind of feel bad for Drew. Maybe Drew deserves a bigger spot. No shade against Priest. I'm a big Priest guy. Maybe Drew gets added to some match. Maybe that's a fatal four-way. How many multi-man matches are they really going to have, though, at this WrestleMania? There's so many. Oh, it should be Braun. It should be Shinsuke. It should be this or that. I don't really know. There's so many open routes. To change pace a little bit, still in the same course, but Roxanne added to the women's chamber. It's a great spotlight for her. I do have a little bit of a hot take on Roxanne. And Roxanne is fantastic. It's about time she was called up. I think they are making a mistake, though, with Roxanne's call up. She's over. She's going to do wonderful things. But she should have came up as a face. I really think she should have came up as a face. The timing right now doesn't really fit, I understand, because Tiffany's the big face going against the heel Charlotte. Rhea's a big face the champion, so it wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense for Roxanne to do something in that realm. But I just feel like Roxanne is the first one in a while, very similar to Tiffany, I guess I should say, but has very like Bailey early days babyface like power that I thought they were going to capitalize on for the longest time, but they called her up as a heel. I didn't think that heel run was going to last all the way into the main roster, and it is. It's going to work out. It's going to be fantastic, I'm sure. But I really thought she should have came up as a face.
I don't agree or disagree. I think honestly, like she's going to be around for so long.
25,
hopefully.
30 years,
Yeah,
probably.
if all goes well,
Yeah,
she's going to be
yeah.
around for so long. So really, she's going to be both.
She's going to
If
get her
she's like
time.
the Big Show, she's going to be heel and face every single week. What I found interesting about her was they still introduced her as NXT's Roxanne Perez, even though we're kind of, we're all pretty much on the same page that she's called up. I think them saying that, if I could speak English, is because she's going to face Bailey at NXT Stand and Deliver.
I can definitely see that.
I think that is their big match for her. I don't think they slide it in the Mania card because there's so many stories going on with the women who've been on the main roster that it is kind of tough to take one of those spots for essentially an NXT story and give it that match. So my gut tells me they're promoting her as that because at Stand and Deliver, she'll face Bailey in a marquee match and it'll be her final NXT match, even though she's essentially up. She'll probably work both for the next couple of
absolutely.
weeks.
It helps establish Stand and Deliver a little bit more. You put a prominent name in Bailey on the show. I don't know when I said this. This was a couple of weeks ago on a podcast, a review, I forget. But I had mentioned that Roxanne is in the perfect position to come up to the main roster, but also still work NXT until post Stand and Deliver WrestleMania. And they're doing that route because Triple H has us on speed dial, obviously. He knows all the plans. Shawn Michaels, too, apparently. But I do want to get into another women's match that was on Monday Night Raw tonight. The great, hopefully future Intercontinental Champion, Ivy Nile, had a match against Dakota Kai. Gotta make sure I'm limber up for this part of the
If
podcast.
you don't understand what we're doing, every time Dakota has the shot where they're backstage and they're walking, I swear, I don't know, maybe this is just like I'm imagining things. I swear every time she does it.
Yeah, she's always kind of getting on, and it's always an arm stretch or something. I get it. It's typical, like when a wrestler's waiting in the ring and they like bounce off the ropes. I get it, but like I don't know, like crack your neck once or twice, or like I don't know, break some knuckles, maybe switch it up a little bit.
Doing like the little wrist. It's like every time, I'm like,
it's just the same. It's literally
just
like,
walk. Just walk.
It's almost like the animation is pulled out of a video game because it's identical the same time.
Yeah.
It doesn't change at all, But more importantly, what I wanted to bring up about that match very briefly, Ivy Nile, like we've said this, we want her to hold a championship alongside the entirety of American Made. And I'm not sitting here saying I dislike Dakota Kai or hate her at all. I just don't really get it. I don't really understand the crazy like love that she has. Everybody can be fans of whoever, but like it's like an overwhelming amount of support for somebody that hasn't like really done a whole lot. I don't know. It doesn't really stick out of the crowd to me, to be honest.
Like she's not bad by any
100%.
means.
Yeah.
Like
I agree.
I don't watch her and I'm like, oh my God, she stinks. It's just something doesn't click with me. And that's, I mean, if we're being honest, like that's just wrestling. Not every wrestler clicks with you. Something about her just doesn't click with me where I'm like, I grab onto this person. I texted you my gripe from the match. It
was that she didn't win, right?
Yeah. No, she did win.
Oh, she did. Well, yeah, I'm mixing it up in my head. Oh, well.
My gripe was we are 6 weeks into this Intercontinental title, Women's Intercontinental title, and we're about 8 weeks roughly into the Women's United States title. And it's still the same feuds as when they first started. Like I know Dakota was kind of away for a little bit, but it's the same matchups. Mishin has faced Chelsea Green, it feels like, for 10 years, and
Yep.
now we're getting a run back of this IC title match. Like, to me, look, I'm not saying you have to, when you brought these titles in, you have to do every single person gets a title shot right away, but it just feels like the rosters are so much deeper. Why are we running the same exact matches again over and over?
Yeah, this is again maybe a hot take here, but we've discussed this a little bit too, potentially even on the channel. I understand why they brought in women's mid card titles. Obviously, the women's roster is deeper than it's ever been, more stacked than it's ever been. There's a lot of talent in all the brands, but it feels forced. It felt like the timing of bringing the titles in was forced by the uproar of the internet fans and all that wanted all this and whatnot. And there's fans that aren't just on the internet that wanted it. Don't get me wrong, but it seems like they kind of brought them in at a point where let's bring them in. Why not? We'll figure it out. But they haven't really quite figured it out as quickly as they were hoping to. Chelsea Green's been fantastic as United States champion, but they haven't really done a whole lot with the United States Championship. She's been running with the gimmick wonderfully, but it's been kind of not a whole lot. Mishin every other week, and Mishin's great, nothing against her. But the other side of things, Lyra has been pretty non-existent, to be honest. She wasn't even on TV for a few weeks. The title match got pushed off the big Raw. Hasn't really been treated crazily. I think the ultimate avenue here is they're going to eventually give Dakota Kai the title, probably. I think that's where they end up going, in all honesty. But I think putting the title on Lyra was maybe a mistake. Nothing against her. I think she is actually one of the better in-ring talents, but she too is a little bland to me, doesn't really stand out of the crowd quite yet. I think putting it on Ivy at the start and maybe having Lyra be the chaser would have been a better build to wherever they're going, or even Dakota being the chaser because she is the face and there is an extent of fans that love her. So maybe that would have been the better route. But abolish the tag titles. That's my whole point of this is if you're going to have these mid-card women's titles, you kind of got to, I think, get rid of the women's tag titles, honestly. They're releasing women's tag wrestlers too. Like, it's almost too much for everything they have.
Not to stray completely off topic, but you're mentioning Ivy Nile.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I agreed. I love her as Intercontinental Champion, but I actually love that they're going with this route that Gable set a demand for the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile to have gold when he came back, and both of them are failing, and we are going to get Psychotic Gable again, and like we are going to get Drill Sergeant Master Gable, like that. Yes, that's what I want. Like, and I see, of course, like I'm very big on like who cares what people say online because they do say nonsense. Like I'm very big on that, but we're normally tweeting, so you see something and it's like I see people, oh my God, why do they have them do that? And then it's like that's the story. That's the story. That's literally the story. That's how these things work. You don't just not everyone just wins.
It's the same with Carmelo. It's the same with everybody. Like there's a story to be told, and American made. It's a long-term story they're telling. Eventually, Drill Sergeant Master Gable is going to lead that entire faction to gold. And, it might not happen at WrestleMania, but maybe it's by SummerSlam. It's a long-term story being told. The fans, anybody can say what they want. Everybody has an opinion. It never bothers me. It's just funny to talk about and discuss the opinions that are so outrageously outlandish. An opinion can't necessarily be wrong unless it's an opinion online about wrestling. Then it could be absolutely wrong because there's some fucking crazy ones out there, if we're being honest. And it's fun to talk about them and discuss them. But one other thing I at least wanted to get into off of this show tonight, we discussed a little bit about Braun Breaker and a Intercontinental Championship. But we didn't talk about his Intercontinental Championship and how I think you might have to put that title on AJ Styles by WrestleMania.
As Jeff Jarrett would say, TNA wins again. You just mentioned an opinion can't be wrong unless it's a wrestling opinion. If someone says they don't want to see AJ Styles versus Braun Breaker, that is a wrong opinion.
That's a wrong opinion. Yeah, that's a wrong opinion. If that same person told me the sky was blue, it's not. I'm sorry, it's just not blue. I wouldn't believe you with anything you have to tell me. Now, again, there's been speculation about so many different matchups at WrestleMania being multi-man matches, including Braun Breaker's title. Now that you have a direction with AJ Styles, singles match, done. That's what I want. I don't want it to be a triple threat. I don't want a fatal four way. Maybe they do go that route some way, but I don't see it. I don't want it. That is an incredible singles match that I do think it would be nice to see Styles win and have some credibility to him again, because he was on the back burner ever since really the Amos run. Some injuries, sideline him, and things like that. But on the flip side, I don't want Braun to lose the title quite yet.
Yeah, but he also kind of falls into like what you talked about. Like he's going to get multiple title runs. I
Yeah.
mean, this is already his second IC title run. I kind of also look at like, I love Braun Breaker. I'm not saying Braun Breaker should lose. I guess Penta would probably be the next realistic guy to take the title off of him, which, is fine by me. But I'm just looking like, you know, maybe Sheamus, whatever. I know there's potential for a multi-man match. I just think with Styles and how the brands are set up right now, probably more fresh matchups with Styles now that he's a
Mm.
face. I don't know. I'm honestly, there's one winner from that match, and it's the fans.
It's the fans, absolutely. AJ Styles, we were there. WrestleMania 33, probably the best match of that entire card. You put him in the ring with Braun Breaker. There's a pretty stacked card coming our way, but that definitely has the potential to be match of the night, match of both nights, in all honesty. So I'm looking very forward to that one, alongside a lot of content that we got coming out here at C2 Wrestling. We mentioned it at the top of the show. Oh, you got something?
You're about to commit a travesty.
I'm so sorry. How could I forget to talk about our GOAT? How could I? I got to get rid of this title.
You've been sick. You've been sick. To be fair,
you're right.
You've been sick.
You're right. Again, as always.
Yeah. I will, trust me, I will make sure if he sees this, he fully understands that you've been under the weather, a little bit of brain fog, you've been going through. I will make sure our ring general clears it and is okay, because we will not end a review, a recap, a discussion without mention of
our GOAT, the ring general, Gunther, with an incredible promo. The guy is truly the absolute best. There's another wrong wrestling opinion, and it's if you don't like Gunther, because he is an all-timer. He really is, as I've said, the wrestler's wrestler. How does it get any better than that guy?
Anytime I watch Gunther, I just don't get how people aren't like, this guy's the fucking greatest ever. I don't get it.
Well, you know what it's going to be? It's going to be, I don't want to call it revisionist history that we see a lot amongst wrestling fans, but I see this, I feel like, with Triple H sometimes, where there's a side of people that hate Triple H, and that's like that kind of wrong wrestling opinion. But there's a side of people where, like, back in the day, everybody hated Triple H. We were kids, we were young, you hate the bad guy. As you get older, that's a 5-star match against a broomstick. He's the best thing going. We love Triple H. Gunther, I think, is going to be that guy that in 10 years, people are going to look back and go, wow, he really is. There was no one better than Gunther. But his videos are on file. We've been saying it since the beginning. So we're always right here at C2 Wrestling too. It's no big deal, But Gunther, man, it's crazy. The promo coming out to the ring, he dropped a tweet after calling the fans putrid, like the guy in a heel aspect just gets it.
I saw a clip of The Undertaker, and he was mentioning how Gunther's one of his favorites, and we've talked about that as well. But one of the things that he said that was so true is like, Gunther truly just feels different than everybody. Like he has his style, he sticks to his style, he sticks to his gimmick, he lives the gimmick, and he can work anybody, and he wrestles his style of match. Like he is unique. Like this is no shade to like Osprey and Ricochet. They're kind of, I wouldn't call them pioneers, but they're kind of like pioneers to a new wave of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Gunther feels like a one of one because of that. He matches up great with those guys. They put on classics, like it's a great stylistic match. But Gunther isn't out here doing suicide dives, springboards, 450s. Like he ain't doing any of that. And he never will. The most you're getting out of him is a old school splash off the top that looks like straight out of Nacho Libre. Like it is as old school as it gets. Like he's just the total package. Sometimes I wish I could just crawl into someone's brain when they disrespect the GOAT and just see where the wiring is messed up. Just see where the wire is just a fuse is blown, whatever it is, where they just don't compute that this guy has been, is currently, and will always be the greatest of all time.
What a better note to end it on than that. The absolute GOAT, Gunther, and one of the best YouTube channels out there, in my opinion, if you ask me, C2 Wrestling. Again, stay subscribed, put those notifications on to get all the notifications about us dropping videos, reviews, reactions, going live, especially to Elimination Chamber coming up. Be sure to come hang out, have some fun with Snowden, CTD, and all of C2 Wrestling.